Secretary Chad Wolf says U.S. Democratic House Speaker Nancy Pelosi calling federal agents responding to Portland protests stormtroopers is a dangerous thing.
The fact that you're going to call any law enforcement, whether it's stormtroopers, we've heard them referred to as thugs or Gestapo, that is absolutely absurd. They are enforcing law. They are enforcing statute passed by Congress.
Wolf was speaking on Fox News this morning. Tropical storm Hannah on track to hit the Texas Gulf Coast. Most of it coming tomorrow, but Hannah will bring heavy rain and winds beginning later today. Hurricane watches are in effect as Tropical Storm Gonzalo moves closer to the Caribbean islands. The National Hurricane Center says Gonzalo's about 600 miles east of the South Windward Islands, packing 60-mile-an-hour winds so far, expected to strengthen soon. This is USA Radio News.
Working from home? I'm Chad Dodd, veterinarian and consultant to Limp Bells. Here are some tips for keeping your dog fit while staying at home. Find 15 minutes twice a day and walk your pet at a decent pace around your place. Play hide and seek by hiding some kibble or favorite toys and letting your dog find them. If you have stairs and your dog is mobile, walk up and down twice a day for 5 to 10 minutes. Or better yet, try a power walk on your terrace or backyard for some fresh air. There are more helpful pet care tips at youmove.com, spelled YOUMove.com.
A high-profile GOP U.S. senator wants to see the impeachment of New York's governor, Democrat Andrew Cuomo. And USA Radio's John Hunt has the story.
Kentucky Senator Dr. Rand Paul said that New York Governor Andrew Cuomo should be impeached for what he sees as a mishandling of that state's coronavirus response.
Well, I think what you found in New York is that we ended up having a horrendous death. We had 30-some-odd thousand people die. Their death rate is about 1,600 per million, the highest in the country, 8 times worse than Florida, 10 times worse than Texas. So I don't think there's a lot in New York that we can look to and say, oh, that's what we should model after. In fact, I really think Governor Cuomo ought to be impeached for the worst public health decision maybe in a century, sending patients with coronavirus back to nursing homes.
Paul also said he thinks about 25% of New York is now immune to the virus because so many people got it at the beginning of the pandemic. For USA Radio News, I'm John Hunt.
And the Nationals, Yankees, Dodgers, and Giants opened the Major League Baseball season yesterday. The rest of the clubs will play their openers today. Highlights: the Atlanta Braves visiting the New York Mets. The Texas Rangers will open up new Globe Life Field against the visiting Colorado Rockies. The Cubs host the Brewers. The White Sox welcome the Twins. The Red Sox open at home against Baltimore. And the Astros will be hosting the Mariners. And for USA Radio News, I'm Chris Barnes.
And a good morning to you, everyone, on this Mega Friday. This is Anna Marie Delgado with the Conservative Watch Hour here on WOCA, 1370 AM and 96.3 FM. Have a beautiful Mega Friday, everyone, here as we start off with this wonderful show and my co-host, Ann Vandersteel. How are you, Miss Ann?
Oh, Annie, I couldn't be any better. You'd have to lock me up. It's all beautiful down here in South Florida, and we're getting ready to roll into a gorgeous MAGA weekend. Of course, you got to laugh because, last night we watched that buffoon, Fire Fauci, completely make a spectacle of himself trying to throw out a pitch, and then he takes his mask off. I mean, the guy he can't keep a party line going one way or the other. Annie? But
yeah.
That's okay. They expose themselves with their silliness. That's all.
Silliness is nonsense, with the scamdemic going on here. I'll tell you,
That's right.
Unfortunately, we had our President Trump announce that they'll be canceling the Jacksonville portion of the convention, and it just really irks me because we'd all just finished getting all our Secret Service clearance to get this beautiful event going on, and jeepers, all because of some really, really bad fudged numbers and a scamdemic that's going on. And it just, I feel bad for some of the folks that was so eagerly, they've worked so hard and volunteered so long and was so looking forward to this. But you know what? At the end of the day, it's all God's will and God's work, what I say first and foremost. And the stable genius always has a plan, so stay tuned, folks.
Oh, listen, Annie, to me, the plan is so transparent. At least from my eyes, I don't know. I'll run it by you. But, when he came out and said, if you can't social distance, you've got, please wear a mask. Frankly, to me, that just says the polls will be open. If you can wear a mask and go to Home Depot and go to restaurants and go out and do your business, you can certainly go to a poll and vote. We don't need mail-in ballot voting. And if we need, we're going to have the National Guard at the polling locations. If Black Lives Matter and other protesters that want to come and unpeacefully protest and try and bully and intimidate voters, that's not going to be acceptable. I mean, President Trump is playing their game, and he's playing it better, just like he played the Electoral College game a lot better than Hillary.
Right.
So he's 10 steps ahead, and I'm all in. I'm all in. I'm
right on. Well,
appointments later with no mask.
That's right. Absolutely. Well, here's what I call it. Be a real VIP. You know what the real meaning of VIP is right now? Is not very important person or something like that. It's called vote in person. Be a VIP and vote in person.
Amen, sister. Amen.
Absolutely. Well, Annie, we're so excited because we have tremendous guests on our beautiful conservative watch hour today, as we always do. And this gentleman is quite unique and quite special in my world, as I recently met him, as you very well know, and on his show, quite frankly, and since then have received a world of knowledge and update of this young man that is just so impressive to me. And what I'd like to do, Ann, if you would be so kind to introduce our guests.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, Pete Santilli has become a friend, and we have the pleasure of frequenting on each other's shows, and I absolutely love him. If somebody said, who would you want to pair yourself up with for a counterpart talk show host, it would absolutely be Pete and Deb. They're fantastic together. They have a show that airs morning and evening. They are relentless. They're live, and they don't quit. And Pete has paid the price of what it means to be a true conservative investigative journalist out there beating the drum. He was the guy that made the Bundy Ranch story go viral worldwide. He had more people tuning into what he was doing when he was live streaming than all the other mainstream media hacks combined. And that really made them mad, and they tried to punish Pete. But you know what? Again, shine a light on a dark corner, and the truth prevails. And Pete has just come out, and he's got an incredible name for himself out there and a very loyal following. So, Pete Santilli, welcome to the Conservative Watch Hour. We're happy to have you.
Wow, I'm certainly not worthy of all that, but let me follow up to what you said, and Ms. Delgado, thank you so much. It's an honor to be on your show. And the other day when I had you on my show, I said, now this is a sister from another mother right here. We have the same blood type. It's called red, white, and blue.
Right on. Right on.
Yeah. So, but listen, dating back to the stuff that was going on when I was covering as a talk show host in 2014, the Bundy Ranch incident, I had Cliven Bundy on the show, and he told me that Barack Obama's brown-shirted Department of Interior agents were pointing sniper rifles at his family. And I said, you got to be kidding me. I drove out. It was 2 hours away because I was in Southern California. Drove out there, and I said, prove to me that they're pointing sniper rifles at you. They showed me pictures.
Wow.
So I basically, within hours after seeing that photo, I recorded Barack Obama's Bureau of Land Management agents coming out of the hills with backhoes and dump trucks. And we're like, what the heck are they doing with dump trucks? They're supposed to be rounding up cattle. They were destroying infrastructure. And it just so happens that I recorded them jumping out of their vehicles, pointing AR-15s at a bunch of, I call them affectionately, okey-dokes, just a bunch of Mormons with signs, and they were pointing AR-15s at them. And I said, this is very wrong. Long story short, I was calling Barack Obama's administration just a communist authoritarian regime. And that was a radical concept back in 2014, saying the word communist. Now, as a former United States Marine, I know what communism and authoritarianism is. That's what the Obama administration was then. And I made him so mad that they made me a political prisoner for 619 days. And I will say this, I'm going to say it proudly. They messed with the wrong Marine, because 619 days I spent defeating them in 2 federal trials. Brought the Obama administration down to their knees in 2 federal trials. I was dismissed myself from one, and the other trial in Nevada was dismissed. And I don't know of any attorneys that can say that they won 2 federal trials except for Jerry Spence. Mm-hmm. So we had a victory there. I'm not bitter. We continue to fight. Day 620 onward is this fight against the same entity that we were contending with back in 2014. This authoritarian, globalist, Marxist, Muslim Brotherhood-loving, anti-American, cop-hating regime. That's who we're dealing with right now. These are communist insurrectionists.
I totally agree with you, Pete, but I'll tell you one thing. They've grown, and they're more brazen, and they're right in our face, and they don't care. Because they have found support systems, which this is the part that I always warn folks about. Within is where they now have their people. That's why they're so brazen. That's why they know that, with the U.S. House under the leadership of Nancy Pelosi, they can get away with murder, and they are.
They are, but guess what? And not to counter what you're saying, but I'm just going to offer a thought to you. Okay, I've watched them on social media. They like on Twitter, for instance. They create this false perception. It's just false consensus. They want to impose their ideology upon us, but they're really a small group of people. They're a minority. We do truly have a silent majority, and we will be silent no more, I will say.
Absolutely.
Here as we approach 100 days before the election. But they're a minority. The people in Congress that you're referring to, how many of them do they have in Congress versus how many people do we have on the outside? At least a third of us, 100 million of us, okay, are absolutely opposed to what they're doing in Congress. That's 100 million people.
Well, that's fine.
We outnumber them.
That's fine. But, Pete, let me just say to you, there's over 100 of them in Congress that are card-carrying Communist Party members. There are over 25 of them in the Senate that are card-carrying Communist Party members. These are legislators that are elected and representing not you and I and not we the people, but they are there. And of course, that goes on into some of the many areas. Jeepers, on the way here this morning, I got another phone call that there's this little blogger guy. He's not a journalist. He's a blogger guy being paid by people just like that to put out these lies and stories about me. And I just got a phone call. Hey, he did another hit piece on you today. I'm like, these people, okay, first and foremost, they're hiding behind the letter R. They're not R's whatsoever.
That's right.
And they're putting fake stuff out just like they do to our beloved president each and every day. And so now, of course, when they see how wonderful and the work that people like you and I, we are, first and foremost, warriors for God and country. You see? Yes. And that's why, Pete, these people do the things they do. It's a different scale for you, but what they're doing to me now, they seem to, they're obviously intimidated by the success and the growth of We the People that Trump Team 2020 Florida has, not only across this state, but many other states, and they've learned, and so they want to try and take me down. They've been trying to take me down for 3.5 years. Good luck with that.
Yeah, Annie, what do you call it? The rhinos, we'll call them, the fake Republicans.
Right.
I'm gonna use one example of what I was contending with years ago. John McCain, I discovered John McCain, as a Republican, was involved in supplying arms. This is documented, by the way. It's even on Fox News, that he was supplying ISIS with arms that came out of Libya. This is a Republican. I went all the way out to John McCain's office. I said, number one, you're supplying arms to ISIS. Number two, you've covered up the USS Liberty. And number three, you don't take care of veterans. I have a whole bunch of them 3 blocks from your office, and they don't have a roof over their head. And you know what he said to me in the media? He said that Pete Santilli was a conspiracy theorist, and I wasn't a real conservative.
Oh, brother. Don't you
John
wish I had
McCain.
a dime for every time they said that to us, Pete? If I had a dime for every time I was called a conspiracy theorist by any of their right-wing, fake right-wing, Soros-funded journalists out there, I would be a billionaire by now.
And that's something. Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Yeah, you know, and no, really, this is like ironic because just recently first of all, I'm Spanish and they're saying I'm a racist. Secondly, they're saying I'm anti-Semitic. Meanwhile, I started Jews for Trump, okay? And it's insane. But see, what it is that's how it's typical of the projection, typical of the liberal, of the Democrats, and they project whatever it is that they're accusing you of, it's what they're doing.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Annie,
right.
Annie and Ann, tell me if you agree with this. These fake Republicans, okay, the establishment rhino GOPers, non-MAGA, right, that are in office right now, wouldn't you agree with me that by their do-nothing attitudes, okay, that by doing nothing, they're helping and enabling Marxism to advance? Do you agree with that?
Absolutely.
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 Yeah. So we need to replace them with MAGA patriots, and that includes just regular, down-home folks. I mean, there's plenty of them right now that are big activists that could be running for office, and we kind of like President Trump. He shouldn't have been running for office.
Yeah, that's
But
right.
he was
I agree.
forced to.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, listen, first and foremost, you know how I believe and I feel that the Lord has chosen him and anointed him for such a time to save this nation.
Absolutely.
But with that being said, there are so many of us, we the people, that have risen up. I've been doing this a long time, but I can tell you, I have friends of mine and people that I've known 30, 40 years that would never get involved. Even when I ran for office myself, and they said, Annie, I'll write you a check because we love you, but we don't get involved in politics. And now they're knocking down my door saying, girl, what do you want me to do?
Yeah. So I got a question, Pete. You've been very vocal about this. You've got a lot of concerns about the next 90 days as we roll into the election season here, and you've got a plan because you're concerned that Trump is facing a communist insurrection, which I would agree with you. We're seeing it. We just talked about how there's card-carrying communists in Congress and in the Senate right now, and they are doing everything possible, particularly with this planned scamdemic, to make sure that people don't show up to the polls. So what do you think, because you've got a plan that President Trump needs to do in order to make sure that we win in November?
That's right.
In my plan, what I was suggesting out there was more so to convince people of what this thing is, because we even have people in the quote unquote in the patriot community that are saying, "Oh, we don't want authoritarianism. We don't want federal troops in the streets." When in fact we need to recognize what it is. And here's the plan. It's identifying what the problem is. Number one, there's no such thing as a peaceful protester. We have communist insurrectionists right now that are attempting to overthrow our government. That must be identified, and the people must understand what it is. There are no peaceful protesters. They're being used as human shields in Portland. You can see them.
Oh, yeah.
They've got like the moms of Portland standing up front, and all they're doing is masking Antifa and BLM so that they can assault our federal buildings, assault our federal officers, destroy our way of life. These are people that have in their manifesto, the Revolutionary Abolitionist Movement wrote a book that said we're going to burn down the plantation. So, number one, President Trump needs to invoke the Insurrection Act. And I'm going to tell you something right now. Within the past 24 to 48 hours, he's handling it exactly the way it needs to be handled, with federal officers being deployed to cities that are being negligent in protecting their citizens.
That's right.
That's the
Amen.
equivalent
Amen.
of dealing with these insurrectionists. Secondly, we must absolutely stop the mail-in ballots. If we have an election on November 3rd with mail-in ballots, I'm going to tell you something right now. No American should ever recognize who the winner is on November 3rd, because the election is rigged with mail-in ballots. And then, most importantly, we have right now, even way above and beyond the fake news, we've got Silicon Valley election meddling outright, deleting conservatives from the internet, and they want to monopolize the flow of information. If those three conditions exist, we cannot have a free and fair election. We're now 101 days from an election.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So those three things must be identified and dealt with accordingly. Otherwise, why even have an election?
That's right. That's why I say we all have to be VIPs. Vote in person.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I absolutely agree with that. Yeah.
You touched on the Operation Legend, essentially, when you mentioned that President Trump has now initiated a variety of our agencies going out into the field. Kansas City, they've rounded up 200 bad guys already in the last couple of weeks. They're deploying assets from the FBI, ATF, Department of Homeland to Chicago, Albuquerque. Do you expect to see this nationwide where we know, like Fort Lauderdale, my God, we have such bad voter fraud down here in South Florida. I would hope they'd send everybody and their mother down here to round up this stuff, but also to be at the polling stations. I mean, I think we've got to consider we're going to have the communist insurrectionists standing with their AR-15s outside polling stations trying to intimidate voters.
Bring your own.
Do you think that's...
Bring your own AR-15.
Well,
I just got a new one.
I'll bring everything I got. I got a lot of firepower.
I'm bringing the Saint with me. I'm going to be a VIP, fully locked and loaded.
We have to maintain. We must maintain election security, because the CIA has been practicing these techniques for decades. And overthrowing other governments. They know how to manipulate elections. Mm-hmm. The possibility of having tractor trailers full, and we know Florida, how your elections are so rigged that in a close election, they'll drive in trucks at the last second with the pre-filled out ballots that they got from China. So right. I believe that we need to have election polling place security, and it needs to happen from both sides. I absolutely agree with that. But I'll tell you what, President Trump, I don't know if you guys heard his interview with Sean Hannity. He mentioned a number of federal agents he will deploy to cities that need it. He said 50 to 70,000 federal agents can be deployed. And he said either the cities are going to ask for it, or we'll have to do something to take care of the citizens of these states that are not getting the help from their elected officials.
It's very true. Very true. And
yeah, that's right.
Hallelujah. Kudos to the president on that, because that's exactly what we'll need. That's exactly what we'll need, because we've seen this happen. Ann and I were both down in Palm Beach and Broward County, and we watched how they brought in these ballots from God knows where. I mean, we found some in an elementary school. We found some in a trunk in a rental car at the airport. I mean, and then there were trucks where they were snipping off the seal that's supposed to only be cut off inside. Once the supervisor of election received these ballots, the seals were all over the parking lot. So obviously, they were rifled through, and Republican votes were thrown away.
Yes. It's they have a plan, okay, and this is why they're implementing the mail-in ballot plan, is because I suspect that they may have been cut off from the ability to manipulate the Diebold electronic voting machines. Mm-hmm. There's some security there, so the only way for them to, and that's why you got Hillary Clinton, Pelosi, everyone's pushing for mail-in ballots, because they want to push voter fraud. It's the only way they can win. Their ideas suck bad. Who is going to vote for them? Seriously, think about it.
Well, and I do think about that, and that's why, I'm still mystified as to why the chairman of the Republican Party of Florida would be going right along with these people, encouraging people to vote by mail. Okay, so what are you up to? You see, this is happening, and this is just not on the left. We have some folks on the right that need to step up to the plate and say, okay, and explain yourself. Why are you doing this? Why are you in complete opposition of our president, and you're supposed to be Republican? That frustrates the heck out of me.
Yeah, the whole... go ahead. I'm sorry.
No,
Yeah.
no, she was asking you, Pete. I'm sorry. Go right ahead. I stepped on you.
No, that's quite all right. Interject, but we need to stop. I say we stop calling these Republicans, especially the rhinos.
Yeah.
And we need to start putting in MAGA patriots,
Infiltrators.
people that
Infiltrators.
Yeah. No, they're. I call them communist enablers that are in Congress. But we need to replace them, and it's relatively easy to do. We need people to step up and start running for office.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, we're seeing it. We're seeing it here. I mean, there's some good people down here in Florida that I'm trying to support. That the 21st district, which is the president's hometown district down here in Florida, has got a pretty big swath in the primary right now, which is next month. And there's some solid citizens, people that have never been in politics before, that are, running to try and beat Lois Frankel, who's been the incumbent Democrat. We've got some good candidates, and then we have some real loony candidates, but it is what it is. At least we have people that are trying to do what you're saying, Pete, step up. And it is encouraging to see that. I've actually interviewed a lot of folks recently. There's a kid out of Pennsylvania. I say kid. He's like in his mid-20s. But he's sharp as can be. His name is Luke Negron. He's running for Pennsylvania 18. I had him on last night. He understands the issues. He's challenging a 40-year incumbent in his district. And
Yes.
This is what I'm encouraged, because not only are we seeing people that have never been in politics before, but we're seeing the nation's youth waking up and going, wait a minute.
Yes, we are.
We can't allow this. We understand term limits. We got to go back to term limits. Our founding fathers didn't intend for the country to be run like this. You did your time in D.C. for a couple of years, and you went back to the farm and raised the family. And we lost that.
Absolutely,
Ann. A job and a career.
Absolutely, and I totally agree with you. Listen, Ann, I only got about another minute here before we go to commercial break. Pete, would you be so kind to let us go to commercial break, and then we can wrap up with you? And Ann, I want you to continue on that thought as well.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, fantastic. So I have a minute left here, and we do want to talk about some of these different districts that we'll be supporting some candidates in. I want to get into that as well. But for right now, this is the Conservative Watch Hour. Thank you for listening. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala.
USA Radio News with Chris Barnes.
President Trump wants Congress to provide major funding for schools. During a briefing late yesterday, the president asked lawmakers for $105 billion to help get kids back to the classrooms this fall. The money would be used for smaller class sizes, teachers' aides, and making space for social distancing and masks for everyone. Meanwhile, this morning, the White House Task Force Coordinator on Coronavirus, Dr. Deborah Birx, said that it's unclear how easily children can spread the virus.
What I can't tell you for sure is whether children under 10 in the United States don't spread the virus as the same as children over 10. I think that is still an open question that needs to be studied in the United States.
The city of Chicago removed 2 Christopher Columbus statues in 2 Chicago parks overnight. And this is USA Radio News.
Have you written a book and want to get it published? Then call Page Publishing at 800-605-6995 immediately. That's 800-605-6995. Page Publishing is looking for authors of all types of books. And unlike most publishers, Page Publishing will take the time to review each and every book submitted to them and give you their feedback. If they like what they read, they'll get your book into bookstores and for sale online at Amazon, the Apple iTunes Store, Barnes & Noble, and other outlets. They handle everything: editing, cover design, copyright protection, printing, publicity, and distribution. So if you've written a novel, children's book, cookbook, inspirational work, poetry, or a biography and want to get it published, then you need to call Page Publishing and do it immediately. Call 800-605-6995 now for your free author submission kit. Again, for your free author submission kit, call 800-605-6995. That's 800-605-6995. Your road to fame and fortune could very well start with this simple phone call. Call Page Publishing at 800-605-6995 for your free author submission kit.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, the inventor of MyPillow, and like all of you out there, I had problems sleeping. Pillows would go flat, I would flip-flop all night long, I would wake up with a sore neck, maybe a headache, or feel like I needed a nap even though I slept 8 hours. When I invented MyPillow, I wanted it to where you can move the patented fill to give you the exact support you need as an individual, regardless of sleep position. MyPillow will get you into that deep sleep faster, and you will stay there longer. It's not about how much time we spend in bed, it's about how much of that quality sleep we get. And I give you a 60-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to lose. And here's my best offer ever.
Right now, MyPillow has a special offer for you. 2 MyPillow premiums for one low price plus free shipping. Each pillow is made in the USA and is machine washable and dryable. Call 800-820-7056 or go to MyPillow.com and use promo code Annie to get 2 MyPillow premiums for one low price plus free shipping. That's 800-820-7056 or go to MyPillow.com, promo code Annie.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Promo code Annie.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Veterans Helping Veterans USA. Call 352-433-2320. We help veterans and their families with limited financial assistance, counseling, employment referrals, and a food and clothing bank. You can help in making a huge difference in the veterans' lives we serve by donating food, clothing, household items, or direct financial assistance. All donations are tax deductible. Veterans Helping Veterans USA. 352-433-2320. Thank you for your attention, and God bless America.
Times of clouds and sun today with a thunderstorm this afternoon, high 89 to 91. Tomorrow and Sunday, partly sunny with a thunderstorm in the afternoon, high Saturday 89 to 92, high Sunday 89 to 93. Monday, partly sunny with a thunderstorm possible in the afternoon, high 90 to 94. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm Brian May.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
WOCA.
Ocala.
WOCA, putting the local back into radio.
Conservative Watch Hour here on this beautiful MAGA Friday afternoon for our second half of our show on WOCA 1370 AM or 96.3 FM with my wonderful co-host Ann Vandersteel, and we have a terrific guest with us today. Pete, are you still there?
I am, and I'm honored to be on your show, and I thank you so much. And we certainly here on the Pete Santilli Show love the people of Florida. Absolutely.
We the people.
Well, right on.
We the people.
That's right.
Absolutely. Miss
right.
Ann?
Well, we were just talking about, to Pete's point, really, and it's you can't understate or state this enough, I should say. It's very understated. We need regular people to go out and get into politics. One, first of all, they're not dirty like politicians that have been corrupted by the system for so many years. But they bring fresh faces and fresh ideas, and they're coming from reality. They're no longer inside the D.C. bubble where they just lose touch with their constituents. That's first and foremost. And there are people out there doing it. We were talking about one right before the break, Luke Negron from Pennsylvania 18. He's a young guy, and he represents a whole other demographic of voters, and I think he can encourage people to take a look at politics through a conservative lens. And he's energetic, and he understands the seriousness of really go for 2 or 3 election cycles, but then be termed out after 2 or 3 elections. And that makes a lot of sense, and people need to start considering it that way. And you take Lacey Johnson running in Minnesota's 5th, for instance. Great guy, He's running against Ilhan Omar. Now, I mean, Pete, we can say so much about Ilhan Omar that, that would take 3 or 4 radio shows to go through the diabolical nature of her candidacy and what she represents. But here's an honest guy. He's a black businessman who's, going to go in there and he's going to try and clean up the mess that's been left behind by what socialists have now installed, and the rioting and the looting and the fact that she represents everything this country isn't. So, have you paid attention to that race at all? What's going on up there in Minnesota?
Well, I've been paying attention to Ilhan Omar for quite a while. I mean, any candidate that would oppose Sharia law, any candidate that would oppose female mutilation, of course, would do real well up against her. I would strongly encourage. Here's another thing. I'm sick. Listen, I am truly a pro-life, and by the way, who isn't pro-life? That's a problem in and of itself. But I'm a pro-life candidate. I want somebody that when they say they're going to go to Washington, D.C. and defund Planned Parenthood, that they'll actually do it. There's a couple of things that represent, true godly MAGA patriotism, and those are the candidates that need to step forward. You don't need to be qualified in politics to go there and say, I refuse to vote to allow Planned Parenthood to be funded. I don't want Sharia law, in any state, in any union. There's a whole host of principles that are MAGA principles, godly principles, that there's plenty of people that are hearing my voice right now. You don't need to be a politician to go there and do what's right on behalf of your constituents.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Totally agree with you. And I'll tell you, when I speak of and we talk about pro-life here in Florida, we have an amazing, amazing Representative Mike Hill. Representative Mike Hill is, his whole journey, he has been a warrior to saving the lives of the unborn babies. He's put up a couple of bills, and, again, here we have a Republican-controlled House, a Republican-controlled Senate, a Republican governor, and we can't get good bills passed. We had a bill that Mike put forward. We did get one passed, but it's mind-boggling that if you cannot, we elected these folks, and they ran as, we're pro-life, really. Meanwhile, we put good bills up, like the one that Mike Hill put up, which is the heartbeat protection bill, and it got killed by the same person that's heading the Republican Party and his buds, so to speak. So at the end of the day, when I see all of these folks that are out there and are making a difference and fighting hard, and then we take a look, and I know I seem to keep going back to this because it infuriates me. It really does. It just absolutely infuriates me that we have Republicans, supposed Republicans, that are the ones that we're fighting harder against in Florida than the Democrats, for God's sake. The Democrats here, they know they're in a losing position. But we have these fake Republicans that are making it harder for us to do God's work, God's will, and the oath that they took, of which they're obviously not upholding, is what's disgusting, in my opinion.
So I want to bring up something that I heard this morning. When I was out doing my exercise, I was listening to an interview of Matthew McConaughey, and I can't remember the black gentleman that was being interviewed, but apparently he does a show called Uncomfortable Conversations or something like that, and they were making a case for why white people cannot understand what it's like to be a black person. Well, that may be true. I have no idea what it's like to be a black person from a skin color perspective, but the same token, I feel like there's just so much racism where it's, white against, they're trying to portray it's all white against black, and that the racism doesn't go in the other way. I mean, the problem is we're not looking at it from a humanitarian perspective. I don't see color. I know politics makes me have to identify people of color because they expect you to do that, but it's the same token. Why do we have to continue to talk about color? Why aren't we talking about how we're going to solve problems that are bigger than just the color of our skin? Because, blacks kill blacks, whites kill blacks, blacks kill whites. We kill each other. We're an imperfect species. This is the animal planet we live on here. But we have to start looking at the problems bigger than that and stop focusing in on these identity politics, which is what's driving the narrative, and it allows us to be herded like sheep into one funnel or another because they prey on the fact that we can't think bigger. And I'm just, I'm asking you guys, how do we help people think bigger and broader and not get sucked into the identity politics?
I'll let you hit that one first, Pete. Did we lose him?
We might have lost Pete.
Did we lose Pete?
I guess we lost.
No.
Well, Annie, I throw the question to you.
Adam's working on it. He's gone now?
Good.
Yeah. Well, that's unfortunate. Is he calling back in?
I am. I got disconnected. Sorry about that.
Oh, my apologies, my dear. Sometimes these things happen. It's called Satan.
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah, well, so...
Are we live right now?
We are.
Oh, okay.
Ann had a quick question for you.
Okay, go ahead, Ann.
Yeah, so the essential and nuts and bolts is how do we get people to get their head out of the identity politics funnel, Pete, and look at the bigger issues? I mean, it doesn't matter if you're black or white or yellow or green. People have prejudice, and they tend to allow the identity politics to really amplify their prejudice and encourage prejudice as opposed to looking at the greater sense of humanity and what are the real issues that we need to face. So how do we get people to start thinking like that and get away from identity politics? What would you recommend?
You got 2 minutes to answer that.
And on the left side of the spectrum, number one, you need to recognize that you're being lied to.
Right.
You're being lied to, that your political opponents are all of these things that they're actually not. So I would say broaden your horizons and figure out how you've been lied to and what the truth is. Get out there and talk to people. They have to control the narrative because the truth is that we on the MAGA side of the political spectrum are doing Democrat better than the Democrats are doing. So if you're a Democrat, you could easily transition over to what we're doing because we're taking care of a whole heck of a lot of people.
Yes.
Right on.
Yes, indeed.
Right on.
Yes, indeed. Well put, my dear friend. There's just so much of this fake news and stuff that comes out. Listen, we've got a minute left. Pete, I just want to thank you for being here with us today. How can people get a hold of you?
Best way, our live stream, we broadcast 5 hours a day live. And you can find me at PeteLive.tv. PeteLive.tv will land you right on our live stream. Or you can go to PeteSantilli.mobi to find any of our links. And we're censored, so please do. Thank you so much, Annie.
Fantastic. Thank you, sir. God bless you. Have a beautiful weekend.
Thank you.
We'll be right back. We'll be right back. Commercial break.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, the inventor of MyPillow, and like all of you out there, I had problems sleeping. Pillows would go flat, I would flip-flop all night long, I would wake up with a sore neck, maybe a headache, or feel like I needed a nap even though I slept 8 hours. When I invented MyPillow, I wanted it to where you can move the patented fill to give you the exact support you need as an individual, regardless of sleep position. MyPillow will get you into that deep sleep faster, and you will stay there longer. It's not about how much time we spend in bed, it's about how much of that quality sleep we get. And I give you a 60-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to lose. And here's my best offer ever.
Right now, MyPillow has a special offer for you. 2 MyPillow premiums for one low price plus free shipping. Each pillow is made in the USA and is machine washable and dryable. Call 800-820-7056 or go to MyPillow.com and use promo code Annie to get 2 MyPillow premiums for one low price plus free shipping. That's 800-820-7056 or go to MyPillow.com, promo code Annie.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Promo code Annie.
WOCA.
Times of clouds and sun today with a thunderstorm this afternoon. High 89 to 91. Tomorrow and Sunday, partly sunny with a thunderstorm in the afternoon. High Saturday, 89 to 92. High Sunday, 89 to 93. Monday, partly sunny with a thunderstorm possible in the afternoon. High 90 to 94. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm Brian Ming.
WOCA, putting the local back into radio.
And welcome back to the Conservative Watch Hour with my co-host Ann Vandersteel, Annie Marie Delgado here on a Friday afternoon. And I'll tell you, that gentleman is, as I said, it's so intriguing and so interesting, and his story is so compelling as he fought. And he fought the Obama administration and his goons. And they put this man in jail. But he beat him twice, not once, but twice. I love it.
He's a patriot through and through. He's a veteran. He's a Marine. You know, he's a full package. And he and his co-host, which is his love of his life, Deb Jordan, they are fantastic. They have a great show. I encourage everybody to go to the Pete Santilli Show on YouTube, subscribe, hit notifications, because they broadcast twice a day, morning and night. Pete's relentless, and you know, they just get it done, and they have fantastic guests on. Last night they had Bevelyn Beatty on, who's that beautiful black lady that was painting over the Black Lives Matter sign in New York City on the streets.
She's my hero. She's everybody's hero. She's America's new hero. You kidding? And I love what she said best. Jesus matters. Jesus matters. I love it.
I know, that's exactly right. And so Ashley, their producer, is going to connect me. I'm going to have her on Steel Truth, and we'll get her on Conservative Watch Hour hopefully next Friday. No promises, but we're definitely working on it.
That's right.
So you know, Annie, interesting plot twist just popped up in the news. I don't know if you saw this or not, but Derek Chauvin, who's the police officer who was charged with, killing George Floyd, putting his knee on his neck, in Minnesota. He and his wife, Kelly, who, by the way, filed for divorce for him 3 days after he was arrested for murder of George Floyd, he and his wife, Kelly, have been charged with 9 counts of felony tax evasion. But here's where it's interesting. You know, their joint income, they underreported their joint income by more than $464,000 in 2014 to 2019, including nearly $100,000 in underreported income from Derek Chauvin's part-time job at the nightclub as a nightclub security guard, supposedly where George Floyd also worked. So let me ask you something. You ever heard of a security guard getting paid $100,000 at a nightclub doing part-time work?
Well, no. See, listen, and don't forget that, yes, George Floyd did work with him, and don't forget that there's that whole element of the fake $20 bills that they had.
Exactly.
By the pallets full, it seems. You know, maybe they used the same pallet that Obama used as the pallet when he sent over the money to Iran in the middle of the night.
Could be. But I mean, it was a bunch of counterfeit money.
It was all counterfeit money. That's right.
And George Floyd was caught with some of that counterfeit money right before he was killed. So you wonder if maybe it wasn't a mob hit. Maybe he was, he had his caught with his hand in the kitty or something like that, and he wasn't supposed to touch. I don't know.
Well, there's a lot more to that story, but there's, it's all coming out little by little, and the truth shall always prevail. You know, that's why I always say, just hang on. You know, when you hear only the first part of something, you know, you have to hear all sides, and not only that. I mean, right from the very beginning, there was a tremendous amount of evidence that these two gentlemen, I hate to call them gentlemen, either one of them, quite frankly, but had a history and have been doing things. So now we see these astronomical numbers. I know a police officer's salary is not anywhere near $450,000. So, on the reporting something like that, you know something's going on. But I don't even want to talk about that anymore. You know, it's just so disruptive and so negative and so disgusting, and a lot of really good people, and a lot of really good people have been harmed because of the indiscretions that these gentlemen chose in their life. And this is across this nation, and not only harmed, but innocent people being killed.
That's right.
All under the name of a bunch of crooks.
That's right. I know. It's
because they never want to talk about. They never want to talk. Seldom they want to talk about the fact that George Floyd. Are you kidding me? The guy's a lifelong, a criminal. With he took a gun. He put a gun to a pregnant woman's belly and said, "I'm going to kill your baby if you don't comply." As they ravaged her house and I don't even want to get into what they really did, how bad it was. Don't tell me about this and that this is someone that was deserving of now millions of dollars and GoFundMe's and this and that and a funeral when nobody could go to funerals, and this guy had a funeral with no social distancing, all these people there, and Al Sharpton and all the other crooks. Please.
That's right.
Enough of that.
Right.
Enough of that. I hope that they all wind up in jail, including his wife, for a very long time. They're bad people doing bad things, and a lot of good people died in this country and have been harmed and beaten in the streets and put out of businesses, and their businesses being burned down, everything they worked so hard for all their life, because of these criminals, crooks, just the bottom scum of the earth.
Well, Annie, I think those people are going to get theirs one day. I mean, last night,
Lord's watching.
President Trump on the Sean Hannity show last night said he would definitely consider pardoning those convicted in the Mueller investigation. So people like, Roger Stone, people like not Roger Stone, Paul Manafort, George Papadopoulos, who they convicted, Rick Gates, who also was part of the takedown during the Mueller investigation. Those people, you may not like them, but this is absolutely a witch hunt, and they were trying to set up a pretense that led back to the president with actually fake FISA warrants. They should never have been able to get those FISA warrants because they were using fake information from a fake dossier.
That's right.
That the FBI knew was all garbage. They knew it was garbage when they gave it to Rosenstein and everybody else to sign off on all this stuff. And
Yes.
Rudy Contreras, who's one of the FISA court judges, conveniently recuses himself as soon as General Flynn is indicted for lying to the FBI, which we now know he never lied to the FBI. So, I mean, and Judge Sullivan is up there still not dismissing this case. This sham continues. They're being continually exposed. And you have to wonder, do they not sit back and look at the landscape the way we are and realize how bad it looks for how they behaved? And they have no remorse. And yet they keep piling on this sinking ship, and they're going down. And then they're lighting themselves on fire as they're sinking.
Well, desperate people do desperate things, Ann. Desperate people do desperate things. We're seeing this in so many different areas, so many different levels. It's not just there. I mean, listen, all politics start local. I mean, we're seeing some things happen here in Florida and multiple counties of some really shady people and getting involved in some of these campaigns that have some really shady candidates. So it's just not there. It's everywhere. But the thing is the fact that, look, at the end of the day, desperate people do desperate things, but they know. The Democrat Party, they know they have nothing in Biden. I just spent 4 days working really, really hard in several counties for several candidates, and I can tell you in all my travels, I haven't seen not one Biden campaign sign anywhere.
Me neither.
Nowhere. And I just traveled the state, half this state in just the last couple of days. And, dropping off Trump campaign signs and putting in signs for good, real conservative candidates that believe in the Constitution. But I didn't see not one Biden sign anywhere.
That's right.
They know.
That's
They know
exactly right.
they're done.
Yeah.
How was it that Reverend Jeremiah, Obama's Reverend there, Jeremiah Wright, said the roosts are coming home?
The chickens are coming home to roost.
There you go.
You know what? And they are. Guess what? The Covington kid. Remember the Covington kid?
Yes.
Who was harassed. He just announced that the Washington Post settled a $250 million defamation lawsuit from March night for the 19th of March for life incident. Do you remember that?
Fantastic. Of course I do. Of course I do.
Yeah.
That poor young man just stood there. He was very respectful, never moved, never said it. It was all a setup. Again, well, good. I'm glad. And I hope that he gets the rest of them. I hope he gets all of those liberal networks that put all those lies out about that young man. And,
right.
And I hope that one day, each and every one of us, that they continue to do. As I told you, I just got a phone call on the way here that this fake little blogger put out another fake story about me. Believe me, they're all going to get theirs in time.
Wait. Are we talking about that guy that was
Javier Manjares? Javier Manjares.
Wasn't he arrested for attempted murder? I saw the Broward PD slick on him. He was arrested for attempted murder.
Absolutely.
And this is who's writing about you, Andy. That's a gnat flying around. I wouldn't even bother with that guy.
Yeah.
He's got no credibility. And anybody that has to retweet that stuff and post that stuff has got no credibility either. They're just showing their cards.
Precisely. Well, they're sociopaths, and and with his case, of course, it's a pay to play type of thing. If you pay him, he writes up, lies and all that kind of stuff about not only me but other people as well. Jesse Milton, he's just. I know that I understand there's multiple candidates now that have joined together are suing him, and the candidate that he's representing, which, look, these are bad people doing bad things, but at the end of the day, every dog has his day.
That's right.
We got 2 minutes left, Miss Ann. We got 2 minutes left here, and I'll tell you, we've got so much to cover. And next week, we've got a busy week, I know that, and we look forward to certainly having Miss Beatty on. Beatty or Beatty, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce that. So we'll keep folks updated on that. And in the meantime, certainly just want to talk about the fact that Trump Team 2020 Florida continues to do all their efforts across the state. Though now it's given us a few days that we had planned for the convention. We've totally shifted gears, and we're going to be announcing some really exciting events that we'll be doing statewide again. Yes.
Woof, woof.
Woof, woof, baby. Woof, woof. You got that right.
That might be the hint. We'll just leave that there. Hey, you know what, though? We should let everybody know that even though Jacksonville got canceled, Charlotte still remains.
Yes.
So, they're still going to do something. It's not.
And the delegates will be voting. And as Mr. Trump said, even if some of them have to do it, even if it's, via the internet or something, but it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Right. Yeah.
Well, with that, Miss Anna, I'm going to have to bid you a beautiful, blessed weekend to you and your family, dear lady. Thank you for everything that you do. And
likewise.
Our audience the same. This is the Conservative Watch Hour. You could reach us at 561-779-3535. Any questions, anytime. Thank you all. God bless you all. Have a good weekend.